I am ready. Are you ready? I'm just looking at my notes to jot down the details for our plan to implement a wireless LAN controller and have access points that it manages and have it all work inside Packet Tracer. So let's take a quick peek at our plan and the IP addresses that we're going to use, and then let's implement it in Packet Tracer. So let me confirm the details. The 10.16.0 network is what we're going to play with. The admin PC is going to be .10. We're in VLAN 1 on all of these ports by default. That's great. The controller is going to be at .2. The server is going to be at .3. The pool is going to be .101 through .150. The default gateway of .1. DNS at 8888. And as part of the DHCP server information, we'll hand out the wireless LAN controller's address. And that way these access points can check in with the wireless LAN controller and get to work following its instructions. And for the wireless network, we're using WLAN-1 with WPA2 and a pre-shared key of Cisco ! 23 with that first C being uppercase. All right, my friend, if you want to pause this screen right here and document all those on paper as well, that'll make it that much more efficient when we go to the interface and actually apply all of these values. So I'll give you a moment to do that right now, and then we'll go to Packet Tracer and we'll implement this. All right, so this is Packet Tracer from our previous video. Let's go ahead and do a file. And we're going to say new. It's going to say, do you want to save any changes? I'm going to say nope. And we're going to start from scratch. Let's bring up a switch. Network devices, switches, and we'll bring up a 2960. Bada boom, we're on our way. We'll call this switch 1. Next, let's bring in the admin PC. So we'll click on the end devices and let's grab a PC, drag them up, and boom, we'll call this admin PC. Perfect. Now, while we're here on the end devices, let's also bring up our server that'll act as our DHCP server. We'll put him up here, and we'll name him DHCP server. Fantastic. And then let's bring in our wireless LAN controller. To do that, we're going to click on network devices over here once again, and then below that, we're going to click on wireless devices, this icon right here. And then from this list, let's just grab a 2504. It's been a workhorse for so many years for Cisco. Let's go ahead and use it. We'll just call it WLC for wireless LAN controller. And then we need a couple of access points also. So still under network devices and selecting wireless devices. And let's use this one right here, lightweight access point, LAP-PT for Packet Tracer. We'll bring one of them in, and we'll bring two of them in. So then we need to have some connectivity to make this work. So we'll go ahead and click on the connector tool right here, and I'm just going to use the automatic connector. So I'm going to click on this lightning bolt and go from the admin PC to the switch, and then lightning bolt again from the controller to the switch, and then lightning bolt again from the DHCP server to the switch. And I'm not going to connect the access points until we have the wireless LAN controller set up a little bit and ready to receive those connections. So I'm going to have them sit off to the side just for a moment until we have DHCP and the wireless LAN controller all set up. So with these in place, let me scroll over a little bit to the left here. Let's configure the admin PC with its IP address of 10.16.0.10. So we'll click on the admin PC, we'll go to config, click on fast Ethernet 0, and give the IP address of 10.16.0.10 with a 24-bit mask. Fantastic, it is good to go. We can also verify that by going to the desktop tab, clicking on the command prompt and typing ipconfig, pressing enter, and verifying that we have the IP address that we intended to. Looks good. Next, let's go to the DHCP server. And here on the DHCP server, we'll click on config, we'll go to interface fast Ethernet 0, and we'll give it the IP address that we planned on. Looking at our plan, that was .3, so 10.16.0.3 with a 24-bit mask. Fantastic. And since we're here, let's click on the services tab and make sure that we click on DHCP and turn that service on, and then configure this pool the way we want it to be. So the default gateway is going to be 10.16.0.1. The DNS server, we can use 8888. And then the starting IP address is going to be 10.16.0.101 based on our plan. Let's take a peek again. So our plan is having the pool of 10.16.0.101 through 150, starting at .101. And if we want 50 addresses, we'll put 50 right here. And then for the WLC address that we can hand out to any clients that need that information, the wireless LAN controller is going to be at 10.16.0.2 once we configure it. So we'll go ahead and click on save. And now that information is saved as part of the DHCP pool. Fantastic. All right. So closing that, let's make our way around the horn and go over to the wireless LAN controller by clicking on it. So here on the wireless LAN controller, if we click on config, we'll go to management interface, and its management interface is going to be 10.16.0. And that was going to be .2, and that's a 24-bit mask. And let me just confirm that with our plan. So if we go back to our plan, the wireless LAN controller would be .2. Sure enough. So far, so good. And its default gateway, 10.16.0.1, and DNS will use Google. All right, and that is set. So with the IP addresses in place, the first thing we're going to do for this wireless LAN controller to work is we are going to connect to it via HTTP from our management PC and do some basic setup of that device that gets it ready to actually perform its duties as a wireless LAN controller. So let's make a road trip to the admin PC. We'll open up a browser to go over to 10.16.0.2, the IP address of the wireless LAN controller, and we can start our initial configuration from the GUI on that device. So we'll close that window, and we'll go back to our admin PC. And here on the desktop tab, we'll close our command prompt with this X over here, and then we'll open up a web browser. And we'll connect to 10.16.0.2, press enter, and awesome. So because it's a brand new configuration, this controller hasn't been configured yet, the first thing it asks us to do if we scroll down here is to set up an admin account. So we'll put in admin, we'll supply a password, confirm that password, and then click on start. And this is just going to give us a basic startup script for the basic setup of this wireless LAN controller. So we'll call this our WLC, and we can put in the date and time, and the management IP address is 10.16.0.2 that we can connect to it on with a 24-bit mask. And the default gateway is 10.16.0.1, and we'll scroll down. And if we're doing trunking and we wanted to have our management interface on a certain VLAN, we could specify that here. I've just got one big flat network. So we're going to say 0 for the management VLAN ID, meaning we're not going to include any kind of a tag, and click on next. And that brings us to the next page, which is asking us for our network. We're going to use WLAN-1. The type of security that we want to use WPA2 personal, which is a pre-shared key. And as a result, this is asking us for that pre-shared key, which I'm going to use as Cisco !23, put that in, confirm it. We only have one VLAN that we're currently using for all of our wireless and wired networks, and then we'll click on next. It's now asking us for a virtual IP address. This is the IP address logically that the controller is going to be using as it interfaces and talks with each of the access points. So I'm going to leave that at the 192.0.2.1. That'll work fine, and click on next. Then it's giving us a summary. So here's the name of our system, our WLC. Here's the management address, 10.16.0.2. Here's our wireless network, WLAN-1. We're using WPA2 personal, and the pre-shared key is hidden right here behind these asterisks. We'll scroll all the way to the bottom, click on apply, and it says now the system has to be rebooted for it to work. So we'll click on OK. So while that wireless LAN controller reboots, let's take this opportunity and we'll connect the two access points to the network. So when they boot up, when they're powered on, they're going to get IP addresses from the Dhcp server. They're also going to get the information on the IP address of the wireless LAN controller. They'll connect to that wireless LAN controller. They'll be adopted or brought into the family. And then the controller is now in charge of those access points. So it's using them as the radios for that wireless network that the wireless LAN controller is in charge of. So let's connect the access points to the network right now. So to do that here in Packet Tracer, we'll click on the connector tool if it isn't already selected. Click on the auto connect tool and go from access point 0 to the switch. And we'll do it again. We'll connect on the auto connector tool, access point to the switch. And see how it's red right here? And also amber right here. So on the switch side, it's amber because it's going through spanning tree protocol. So that'll take a moment or two. But on the lightweight access point side, it's red because these guys don't have power yet. So on the switch, we could have connected to power over Ethernet if the switch supported it, or we need to plug in external power to these access points, which is the case. So let's do that now. So on access point 0, we'll click on it and check this out. Under physical, down here, this is the transformer, and we'll just drag and drop it on top of the little power connector, boop, and the LED turns green. So now the switch, after it goes through spanning tree, will allow that connection to happen because the access point is now on, and we'll do that also for access point 1. So we'll take this little power supply here, connect it, doink, Sound effects added by Keith Barker. All right, and we'll close that. And so once these ports on the switch go to green, which means spanning tree is done, and it's allowing traffic in, these clients, these access points, are going to get IP addresses from the DHCP server. They'll then register, check in with those access points for the benefit of having a wireless network. So let's wait just a few more moments until this icon right here, the amber one, goes green on FA0/5. Great, super. So now let's go back to the admin PC and let's log into the wireless LAN controller and take a look. So we'll click on the admin PC. Here on the admin PC, we'll click on the desktop tab if it's not already selected, and we'll click on web browser. Now, once the wireless LAN controller has been initially configured, it's expecting connections on HTTPS, not HTTP. So we'll type in HTTPS colon whack whack, and then the IP address of the wireless LAN controller, which is 10.16.0. Looking at my notes, 2, and press enter. It's now asking us to log in. So we'll log in as admin, the user we created, and we'll supply the password. And I'm going to expand this so we can see a little bit more of it. Now, there are a lot of bells and whistles that we can tweak on this wireless LAN controller. And our major purpose here is to make sure that the wireless access points showed up and registered with this wireless LAN controller. So right here on the monitor tab, if we scroll all the way down here, this is a good sign. Regarding access point summary, we have 2 access points listed right here. That's really good. If we click on here, it shows us that we have the 2 access points. They're in cahoots and being controlled by this controller. And if we click on wireless LANs, it shows us that we have this wireless LAN called WLAN-1. So the next step is to go ahead and test this. So to test this, let's click on the end devices down here. And let's select over here the smart device. And we'll go ahead and drop it right here. So there's our smartphone. If we configure the smartphone, we just click on it. And for the smartphone, if we go to config, and then under interface, click on wireless 0, you see at the moment it's got an IP address of 169. That's an automatic private IP address assignment because we don't have it joined with any wireless network yet. So until it joins a wireless network, it's not going to be able to get a valid IP address. So for this wireless 0 interface, we'll say, please join the SSID called WLAN-1. And then for the authentication, we're going to use WPA2-PSK pre-shared key. And then we're going to supply that password of Cisco, !23. And then once we do that, check this out. If it works, down here the IP address should show up as a 1016 address. It just did right there. Fantastic. Also in the graphic, it shows the association between the smartphone and lightweight access point 0. So if we were to go to the desktop on this smart device and click on command prompt and type in ipconfig and press enter, on our wireless interface we have this IP address. Fantastic. We were assigned that via DHCP from the DHCP server, and we should be able to ping somebody on this network. So let's ping the DHCP server, which is at IP address .3. So let's do a ping to 10.16.0.3 and press enter. And sure enough, we've got connectivity. So in the previous video, we took a look at configuring pre-shared keys with WPA2 in a small office, home office environment. In this example, we used a controller, and it's not too critical to memorize where this is or where that is, but it's the concept, the idea that if we go to wireless security, regardless of the product or vendor or version, if we look under wireless security, we're going to have those options of WPA or WPA2, personal or enterprise. And if we're using personal, it means we're using a pre-shared key. And then we'd want to verify that it works by bringing up at least one client to verify that we can connect. So I encourage you to take some time and practice this step by step, not to memorize the exact product, but just to become more familiar with implementing WPA2 with a pre-shared key. So I've had a lot of fun in putting this together. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.